I guess people finally are getting tired of the comic book movies. Since The Dark Knight hit the big screen in 2008, Hollywood studios exploded with comic book movies. They realized that people are suckers for nostalgia. And now that the comic book fans are growing up, it makes sense that the movies would be more adult. I honestly never bothered too much. I've never been a big comic book fan, and the superhero movies I did watch I didn't find that interesting. Warning, unpopular opinion coming up. I didn't like The Dark Knight that much. Please don't kill me. Yes, it was very revolutionary for its time, and it made movie history in many ways. And yes, Heath Ledger's performance was phenomenal, but he's in the movie for about 40 minutes. Most of the movie is just slow, dark, and kinda boring looking. Some people might agree with me, but come on, number 4 on IMDb. Anyway, I could go on and on about this. But I'm gonna get to the point. There was one movie near the end of the comic book era that did stuck with me. And that movie was Joker, directed by Todd Phillips. And now before all of you go nuts, yes, I did like the movie. It's probably the only DC or Marvel movie I actually liked. So why am I talking about it? Well, in my opinion, there is a lot to talk about, and a lot to compare it to. I'm also a huge fan of the Joker as a character, despite my lack of comic book reading. Also, the interpretations of the Joker have been quite amazing during the years. For the most part. The Joker movie won several Oscars and got nominated for even more, including Best Actor.
And then we take her milk that's intended for a calf and we put it in our coffee and our cereal.
Seriously people, try oat milk, it's not that bad. Nevertheless, is the movie really that good? What did the movie bring to the character and what did it take away? Also, so the movie opens up with our protagonist putting on makeup. Without any dialogue from Phoenix, we learn what his profession is, his general mental state, and that Gotham is slowly falling apart due to class differences.
It's starting to affect my business when customers can't get in here because of the garbage situation.
I've never seen anything like it. What is this welcome?
We see him working as a clown, some really bored bullies steal his sign.
We got the sign!
Okay. He chases them into an alley and get beat up. Okay, these guys are really bored. After a stylish title screen, we get this. This shot goes on for a while and creates an uncomfortable mood, and raises some question what is he laughing at. His laughter also sounds forced, like he's in pain. We slowly see his facial expression change and it's revealed that he is at a therapist. So it's implied that this forced laughter might be some kind of condition. We learn that he's on medication and that he wants to become a comedian. This opening to the movie is pretty great. Although I have to say that already at this point in the movie, I knew that this probably was gonna be a different kind of Joker. This is a story about a tragic human being, with some resemblance to its source material. In the following scene, we see Phoenix joke with a child on a bus. The child's mother tells him to fuck off, and he starts laughing again. He hands her a card, and it's confirmed that his laughter is due to a medical condition. But it's not specified what it's called. So I did some research, and it turns out that this condition exists. It's called pseudo-barbar affect, and it's caused by a disconnection in the brain that controls your emotional expression.
Pseudobulbar affect, or PBA, is a medical condition that results in sudden and uncontrollable episodes of laughing, crying, or both.
I actually had no idea that this condition existed, and I appreciate that this movie brings attention to this condition. So please try to understand that when I criticize certain scenes in this movie, I don't criticize people with this type of disorder. I only criticize how this movie uses his laughter as an effect. If you want to learn more about this condition, there's a link to the video in the description, as well as the Wikipedia page. Moving on, we get some really nice visual representation about what Arthur Fleck's character is going through. We learn that he lives with his mother and that he takes care of her. They watch a comedy talk show together and he fantasizes about being on the show. Now this is something that bothers me with the movie. As the movie goes along, we learn that one of his motives is the will for attention. I never imagined the man underneath the Joker to be the self-pitying weirdo type of guy. Compare him to Mark Hamill's portrayal of the character. Here we have a mad genius who clearly has a bigger plan behind everything he does, but is still unpredictable. A person that is in control, even if he's surrounded by chaos. In Todd Phillips' version, it's almost the opposite. Here he's more controlled by his outer world, rather than his anarchistic ideas. And if you find it hard to see what I mean, imagine both Mark Hamill's and Joaquin Phoenix's Jokers in a classroom together. Mark Hamill's Joker would not be the shy guy sitting in the far back. He would most probably be the class clown, bully type of guy that everyone looks up to. The funny guy, weird guy, and scary guy all at once. Even if you argue that Phoenix becomes this kind of person at the end, I wouldn't agree. By the end, he's more portrayed like a symbol for the middle class, rather than a criminal mastermind. It's still the crowd that cheers to him to stand up, and he obeys them, not the other way around. Sure, Mark Hamill's character in The Killing Joke is also an outcast that dreams about becoming a stand-up comedian. But it comes across more like a career dream, not the will for attention. I'm not against this version per se, I just feel like it changes a lot of groundwork for the character. But I guess there's nothing wrong with a more sympathetic version. Anyway, Phoenix is given a gun by his colleague to defend himself from more super bored bullies. And then he gets yelled at by his boss. Yeah, very original.
'Cause I got jumped.
For a sign. It's bullshit. It doesn't even make sense.
Why would I keep his sign?
How the fuck do I know? Why does anybody do anything?
Okay, so you contradicted yourself to serve the plot. Very nice. In the next scene, we see Arthur Fleck's reaction to this treatment. I would like to take a moment to talk about the music. It's composed by Hildur Guðnadóttir. I hope I pronounced that okay. She did an amazing job with the atmosphere. The music is unsettling and subtle when it needs to, but also big and dramatic when it needs to. And that's not an easy thing to do using the same melodies. As the movie goes on, we hear the music grow and evolve along with Arthur Fleck. She also made the soundtrack to the miniseries Chernobyl, which I largely enjoyed. So if you haven't checked out her music, I highly suggest you do. Link in the description. Next up, Arthur meets a woman that lives across the hall, and in a later scene we see how he starts stalking her. Again, not something I imagined the Joker doing, but whatever. The movie shows him playing around with the gun and talking to himself, then he accidentally fires it. Then the woman across the hall comes over. This is one of the more interesting parts of the movie, because it's up for interpretation if this conversation is actually happening. And if you listen to her dialogue, it doesn't really sound like something a real person would say in this situation.
I have a gun. I'll come by tomorrow.
You're so funny, Arthur.
Of course, the movie has to ruin the subtlety of this by the end, but we'll get to that. After this, we see Arthur at his job. Then this.
Stomp your feet.
What a great oh fuck moment. I mean, obviously the gun would become a plot device sooner or later, but the moment this happens, we immediately understand that he will be fired, and how much a little mistake can ruin for him. The way he tries to play it off like a gag, and the way the children sorta awkwardly laughs at the situation. I mean, can you imagine how cheesy this scene would have been if the room fell silent and the music stopped for no reason? Then Arthur gets fired, and he takes the subway home.
You want some French fries?
Is something funny, asshole?
I mean, I get that this scene is supposed to be uncomfortable and we're supposed to feel sorry for Arthur, but it's only a plot device to make the situation worse for him, so we can sympathize with him more, but it feels forced. Also, I don't really understand these people. Why are you so interested in this clown laughing at you? Are you trying to make friends with him or bully him? Why are you suddenly starting to beat him up for no reason? Yes, it's implied that they're drunk, at least for a second there, but that doesn't make their motivations more rational. And I know people make irrational choices, but do these guys always beat up random people? Maybe they were just bored. Arthur has this face like, oh, I've had enough. And then he kills these random guys he just met. The movie implies that this is supposed to be some sort of breaking point for him, Like maybe he couldn't control his rage anymore. But why do you still chase this guy down and shoot him in the back while he's crawling up the stairs? Was this all your impulse? Are you a sadist? Is this another fantasy? I don't think so, because it's all over the news in the rest of the movie. And if you argue that he didn't want any witnesses, what about that woman that just left the car? Where did she go? She must have heard the gunshots, right? And she clearly saw these guys getting provoked by you before she left. And all of this was because of his laughter? It just feels so forced and weird. There was no purpose behind this scene other than to make us feel more sorry for him. And to justify his murder, I guess. Also, we haven't seen any violence from Arthur besides him kicking a dumpster. So, where did this come from? I don't know. Arthur runs away. Yeah, he does that a lot in this movie. And then we get the famous bathroom scene. I actually really like this scene. Some people might think that it's unnecessary artsy, but keep in mind, this is the first time Arthur has taken control over his life. He did something drastic and now he feels more free than ever. Maybe he's even happy. Arthur leaves his job and then we get this.
They bring a gun to the children's hospital, Artie?
Why don't you ask Randall about it? It was his gun. I still owe you for that, don't I?
Stop talking out of your ass, Art.
Oh no! I forgot to punch out.
Yeah, this moment is trying to be one of those moments, but I think it could have used some work. I mean, what he says doesn't really have any consequences for anybody. They can just not believe him and go on with their lives. Also, I think it's just weird. Not that. Next, this movie introduces Thomas Wayne, and Arthur is disappointed to hear that he did not like the murders on the subway. What a shame. Then this.
Thomas Wayne.
It's not funny.
What? Don't you know that your own son has this condition? Have you never told her? Or does he actually think this is funny? Why is he then doing that with his legs? I don't get it. Arthur gets to know that his terror clinic is shutting down. Then we see Arthur at his stand-up show. I really like, by the way, how this woman is lit up. This moment works fine for what it is, but the laughter feels like an effect at this point. He gets mistreated for who he is, I know. But is that the only reason to become the Joker? Batman's arch nemesis? Where are all the complex plans for society, the cruel mass murders, the anarchy? Can you imagine Mark Hamill going like,
I don't know what it was that bent your life out of shape, but maybe I've been there too.
well, I wasn't very popular in school. Do you see what I'm trying to say? If we feel sorry enough for him, we can justify anything he does. Well, wouldn't it have been more interesting to analyze the mind of a terrorist? What is going on in that person's mind? How does he or she view the world, and why? What is the utopia for a person like that? This is more like a school shooter type mindset. Taking your revenge out on the world because of how it treats you. Not trying to rebuild society or anything. Nothing happens for a while in the movie. Arthur goes on a date with the woman, Sophie? Okay, Sophie. And Arthur gets to know that his mother used to work for Thomas Wayne. And that Thomas just might be his father. Then we see Arthur interact with Bruce Wayne. I guess he came prepared. Some complain about the age difference between Arthur and Bruce. And I agree. It's a little strange. It would be strange to see Batman beat up an 80-year-old man. Then again, I'm not quite sure that this is the same universe. Even though I would like to recognize more elements in this movie, I can somehow excuse this movie for making Bruce Wayne more of a mental struggle in Arthur's mind kind of thing. The life he never had but so desperately wants kind of thing. Like a black bewinged demon in his mind. That still begs the question. Why do you still have the Bruce parents getting killed kind of thing? And then you hold on this shot like, yep, here it all began. So are you making a more true to life version or are you making a backstory?
Get away from that man.
It's okay, I'm a good guy.
Well, I guess you are.
Your mother was delusional.
Oh, I guess you're not. We can justify anything as long as we feel sorry for the character. Arthur comes home and is met by his mother being carried into an ambulance. Then at the hospital he gets questioned by the police by the subway murders.
What do you think?
That was actually kind of funny. At the hospital we see his stand-up being featured on the comedy show.
Hey, one more, Bobby. Let's see one more. I love this guy.
That's unfortunately a bit too real.
When I was a little boy and told people I was going to be a comedian, everyone laughed at me. Well, no one's laughing now.
Then he goes to this protest where everybody has clown masks on. Down with Wayne? Seriously? You couldn't come up with anything better? Anything written on these signs would have been better. He tricks his way in very easily. Like, what did this police officer think was gonna happen? Would any police officer think that this was a good idea? Like, yeah, they needed to create more chaos so Arthur could sneak past him. But couldn't you make the crowd push over the barrier or something? I mean, anyone who has gone to a concert knows about that. Also, this chaos started conveniently 20 seconds after he arrived. He finds a disguise, somehow, and follows Thomas Wayne into the bathroom.
Dad, it's me!
Ouch! Now I feel even more sorry for him. Now we can justify anything. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't sympathize with him. This character arc is better than in most movies. But people with a lot of trauma don't always turn to crime. There's usually other reasons behind it.
General, my partner and I had a few more questions for you.
This is hilarious. I know it's supposed to be dramatic, but why did he hide in the fridge of all places? It's like... Arthur gets a call that he is wanted for the comedy show that he always dreamed about going to. Then he goes to the mental hospital to see if he can find any documents from his mother. And his fears are confirmed. This scene is powerful. Well shot, well acted, well composed. It does feel like one of those places where the laughter actually works. When you find out that your whole life was just a setup for a joke. Then we get this scene. Oh no, she was never there. Oh my god, oh. Well, yes, this montage could have been a lot worse, but I'd rather have it not at all. This shot is my favorite part of the movie, because it's unclear if he killed her or not. And the music, I love it. At this point I'm more okay with the laughter, because we can't really tell the exact reason for it. But in my opinion it's overused. They are just fishing for reactions at this. Then this.
I used to think that my life was a tragedy, but now I realize it's a fucking comedy.
What? You just killed her? Why? Are you pissed at her because she was mentally ill? Are you trying to get rid of your final problem? Do you now see what I mean? Just because we feel sorry for him doesn't really help us understand his actions. It's not justified. There's no plan behind this other than to get rid of this character and to show the contrast from the beginning of the movie. But there was no implication that he hated her. It doesn't make any fucking sense. In the next scene when he kills his old colleague, we at least understand a little bit because he kills the guy that got him fired. And in the previous scene, the movie left it open to the viewer if it really happened. But here, there's no justification. Or is it a fantasy again? Whatever. So he practices going on the comedy show and killing himself. And the use of the sound from this TV set reflecting his fantasy is actually kind of clever. Then his friends comes over and he kills the guy that got him fired. I really like that there's no music in this. I mean, take a look at this.
Thank you, Brando. Thank you so much.
Then we get the famous dance scene on the stairs. It feels kinda clever for him to start off as a clown and slowly become a Joker. That's right, a Joker. I still do not see the Joker from the Batman universe. Think about it. In the Dark Knight version, they borrow some elements and adapts the Joker to its surrounding environment and tone of the movie. And it works great, but Joaquin Phoenix is closer to the Taxi Driver from 1976. It's a story of a lonely man who slowly goes insane because of how he's treated by society, and how he eventually takes out his aggression on a public figure. And the similarities goes beyond that even. Now, I'm not saying that the Joker ripped the movie off. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's an homage of some kind. And the same stories can be told in different ways, as long as it's done well. The only thing I'm trying to get across is that this movie didn't feel like the origin story to the Joker. It feels more like a realistic interpretation of a person with similar elements. I do appreciate the realism of this movie, I really do. I just don't think it was very faithful to its source material. Anyway, he gets chased down by the police and hides among the clown mask people. And it's like, ooh, his followers are criminals now, but he's not their leader. We finally get the climax of the movie, and it's honestly one of the best scenes. I'm not gonna show it in its entirety, but we get the famous line.
What do you get?
I don't think so.
When you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash, get what you fucking deserve!
Yay, he's free now. He's in a police car. It crashes because one person has stolen an ambulance and drove it into the police car. Good thing he didn't die. And he's portrayed as a saint. The end. So what is one to make of this review? Did I like it? Yes, I did. It's a great story and it's well told. It's stylized and atmospheric and has a lot of character. But personally, I was hoping for a more deep dive into a criminal mastermind. The Joker character has many aspects to him, and there's a lot of potential to analyze the logic behind his actions.
Do you ever think about how many times we've come close to World War III over a flock of geese on a computer screen? Silly goose, it's all a joke. Everything anybody's ever valued or struggled for, it's monstrous. Why can't you see the funny side?
You can sorta understand what he's talking about, but wouldn't you wanna know more about what made him that way? Other than how tragic he is? Okay, let's talk about the good stuff. Phoenix's acting is great, and he had some big shoes to fill. No pun intended. A lot of his scenes has very little dialogue, but you barely notice it because of his all-saying performance. Another minor good thing is the color palette. Telling a tragic story about a clown, you can't go too boring or too circus-like, but they managed to find the balance. The color palette is a huge part of the movie's mood and atmosphere. And yes, this movie could have been a lot worse. So I don't want to wipe this movie out of existence, and I'm glad I saw it. And this opens up new possibilities for the character. So I think the man himself said it best.
If I'm going to have a past, I prefer it to be multiple choice.
Thank you for watching. Bye!